All right, and congratulations on finishing activity two. As we move on to the last part of our discussion, asynchronous discussion for today on a popular literature. So, for this point, we will be talking about the genres in popular literature, and let's start with the most popular, the romance genre. So what is the romance genre? Now it emphasizes falling in love and establishing emotional and committed relationship between partners. Now romance fiction is smart, fresh, and diverse. So whether you just want contemporary dialogue where characters are just talking, or historical settings, mystery or thrillers, any other themes from romance, the romance genre can have it all. Okay. Now, there are two basic elements of romance. There's a central love story where the main plot centers around individuals falling in love and struggling to make the relationship work. And also, aside from a central love story, there has to be an emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. Now, in a romance, the lovers who risk and struggle for each other and their relationship are rewarded with emotional justice and unconditional love. So again, remember these are the two basic elements of romance. Now, let's talk about the subgenres of romance. We have contemporary romance, which uh, romance novels that are set in 1950s up to the present that focus on the romantic relationship. There's also erotic romance, which strong and often explicit sexual interaction is part of the literature. So, part of the love story, character growth, and relationship. So, the central theme now is about sex. And could not be removed without damaging the storyline. So, like, sex is a vital part in that kind of literature. Let's go to historical romance. Now, historical romance set in historical past, such as the Regency romances. Now, stories must remain faithful to the culture and traditions of the time period. One example of this is Bridgerton, right? Or The Duke and I from the Bridgerton series. We also have paranormal romance, so gothic or horror elements with supernatural settings and relationships between uh, humans with psychic abilities and characters such as vampires, werewolves, witches, demons, or even angels and ghosts. So, one example of this is The Twilight. So, Twilight can be considered a paranormal romance. Now, we also have romance with spiritual elements. The romance novels in which the spiritual beliefs are an inherent part of the love story, character growth, or relationship development and could not be removed without damaging the storyline. So, again, it's the context of religious or a spiritual belief system of any culture. Now, we also have romantic suspense. The romance novels in which suspense, mystery, or thriller elements constitute an integral part of the role. So, there is a love story in a suspense or in a mystery and a thriller. Those are the young adult romance. The romance novels in which young adult life is integral part of the plot. Now, these are young adult romance literature, mostly written for teenagers, and sometimes we even read this. So, as defined by Romance Novel Writers of America, romance novel consists of a central love story and an emotionally satisfying ending. Okay. Now, another genre in popular literature is the science fiction genre, which is a form of fiction that deals principally with the impact of actual or imagined science upon society or individuals. Now, take for example The Three Body Problem by Lu Xushin. Uh, it's actually a science fiction because it shows like the impact of the imagined science, which is the aliens coming upon the society or the individual. So that is one example of a science fiction popular literature. Now, where was science fiction invented? Now, the emergence of science fiction became most evident in the West, where the social transformations caused by the Industrial Revolution first led writers to extrapolate the future of technology. So they were writing even before, yeah, even before this was uh, during the Industrial Revolution. What would happen if we like up our technology? what is the future impact of technology, and that's when, which is the clearest precursor of a science fiction genre literature, was Cyrano de Bergerac, who wrote about a Voyager's trip to an expulsion from the moon. So, iyang mga adventures sa moon iyang gisuwat. Now, science fiction is a modern genre, though writers in antiquity sometimes dealt with themes common to modern science fiction. Their stories made no attempt at scientific or technological plausibility. So this is the feature that distinguishes science fiction from earlier speculative writings or other contemporary speculative genres such as fantasy or and horror, because we do not, in science fiction, they do not attempt uh to make it real. Whatever it is that they have written in the book, like um they're not these stories made no attempt at scientific or technological plausibility. So they were not, what they call this, they did not try to reason themselves out na, oh, this is gonna happen, this is not gonna happen. So nothing like that happened. So in the 21st century, its avid followers and practitioners constituted a thriving worldwide subculture. Now fans relish the seemingly endless variety of science fiction related products and pastimes, including books, movies, television shows, computer games, magazines, paintings, comics, and we have websites, DVD, toy weaponry, and uh, what do you call this? One's one science fiction that's very popular is Star Wars. So it's really, starting from a book, or starting from a piece of literature, it has now become like a culture in a society where whenever it's 4th of May, there even posts that say, "May the fourth be with you, may the force be with you," because it's May 4. Uh, so uh, that's how, science fiction has really embedded into our culture. That it's not just anymore a literary genre. Now, some science fiction themes is, of course, time travel, where, of course, travel through time, space travel as well, uh, where the flight of outer space is a very classic science fiction theme. Of course, the Vernes de la Terra a Lune was the first fiction to treat space travel as a coherent engineering problem, right? So to recognize explicitly that gravity would cease and there could be no air and so forth. And of course, alternate histories and parallel universes. This is where uh, MCU comes in. Marvel Cinematic Universe comes in. They have alternate uh, parallel universes. So there, time travel paradoxes developed as a separate school of science fiction. Now, another popular literature genre is the detective genre. Now, it is where a crime is introduced and investigated, and the culprit is revealed. Now, this is the detective genre is very similar to I forgot the literature. Very similar to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. That's a detective genre. Now, we have here a few subgenres of the detective genre, which is crime fiction and mystery fiction. Investigator or a detective investigates a crime which is often a murder. And we have cozy mystery detective genre as well, where profanity, sex, and violence are often downplayed or even treated humorously. Now let's look at some traditional elements of a detective story. So we have a seemingly perfect crime, a wrongly accused suspect at whom circumstantial evidence points, the bungling of a dim-witted police, a police who doesn't know what to do, uh, the greater powers of observation and superior mind of the detective. We also have the startling and unexpected denouement, in which the detective reveals how the identity of the culprit was ascertained. So these are just some of the traditional elements of a detective story. And I think if you are into true crime, you have these elements one way or another. Now, let's go continue back to the detective genre. The first detective story was The Murders in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe. And then the most popular detective genre is detective genre literature is Sherlock Holmes, all right? Which is the character of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson was debuted in A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. And Holmes continued Holmes stories continued in some of the collections by Doyle. So you see there the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of Bakersville, and of course, uh, Sherlock Holmes' popularity still endured even after Doyle's death. So people were encouraged, or yeah, encouraged to continue doing these kinds of genres. So uh, that's that. Of course, the Detective Fiction Award is through the Edgar Allan Poe Awards. Now let's look at some issues and challenges in popular literature. Now there are some issues that we have to discuss. First is the idea of postmodernism. Now, postmodernism says all things may have two meanings at the same time, and these meanings are not contradictory. Rather, they are integral parts of reality. So how does this become an issue? So as literature teachers, as teachers of English, we want we want like a definitive correct answer. However, with popular literature and with postmodernism, it tells us that everything is correct. These are not contradictory, rather integral parts of reality. So how can you bridge that as teachers? Two meanings at the same time, and these meanings are not contradictory. So it could mean this, it could mean that. You could be right, or you could, or I could be right. That's the first issue. But remember, there is, of course, a right and wrong, good or bad. And let's admit it. There's something like that. There is up, down. There is left, right. Uh, so there is really a binary system that we have in society. So let's say, for example, if we're going to include uh, a literature in our class, and then if we're going to discuss it, and then you might have this particular point of view, then the student also has a particular point of view, which you know that that point of view is valid because it is the student's, but it is not right. But with the idea of postmodernism, everything is right. So how can you bridge that? It's the first issue or challenge in popular literature. Second challenge in popular literature is mass media. Some of us, as what I've told you, some of us likes to watch the movie version of a novel. Some of us want to watch the TV series version of the novel. Some of us, just want to play games and all. Uh, and let's admit it, when we read, it takes out significant time from us. And with these alternatives, movies, TV shows, the internet, they offer faster and more immediate entertainment. And that's where the issue comes in. How can we make sure that as literature teachers, we are encouraging our students not just to watch literature, but to read literature and further improve their literacy as students, especially with our problem in our educational in our general education in the Philippines, where uh, reading is really a problem. How can we contribute to that? How can we contribute to lifting up the literacy of the Filipino children that we will be teaching? Right? If we're very used to just asking them, oh, you watch this movie. Oh, yeah, they might know the story. They might have a plot, but as teachers, as English teachers, we are more concerned on the reading aspect. Can they read, and can they read with understanding? So That's the second issue and challenge in popular literature. Next, lots of books are bad. Popular literature is good. It relates to you. But sometimes some of these literatures are not good at all, offering low quality, superficial enjoyment, brain candy, but lacks lasting value. There is no value in them. So poor literary experiences that you get by reading these books, or when your students read books with very low quality, it would encourage them to pursue meaningful readings in the future, meaningful works in the future. Next, inaccessibility. Now, writing that depart inaccessibility is uh, writing that departs uh, from standard clear language rather. So when an author writes in a very highfalutin manner, they use very high English, a very sorry high English, complex English. This now becomes a challenge. This now becomes a challenge to the readers, and that exasperates elitism. So this is really uh, what they call this. This is really a issue that we have. Uh, how can we encourage our students to read if the literatures that they will be reading are very hard to understand? That is not on their level. Which is why at the last week of our class, we will be talking about a readability test, how we can figure out if literature is really appropriate for our students. So uh, let me just continue reading. Inaccessibility often affects works by underrepresented authors, challenging elitism. So there are some works that are underrepresented. Uh, that means authors are not really that known, but then sometimes these authors, write in complex English, so readers anymore don't like to read. So, for example, here, uh, Gloria Andulaza's Borderlands blends languages and genres, creating nonlinear mosaic styles. So, again, remember popular literature has a narrative that is already common. So they follow that one, and if you use a new one, a new format or a new style, readers might be confused. All right. Another example is Judith Butler's Gender Trouble and Beatriz Preciado's Testo Junkie. So questions foundational terms like women, men, gender, and sex, exposing hidden assumptions in language. But the question, yes, it may expose hidden assumption in language, but the question is, would that contribute to the students? What they call this? Would it contribute to the students? Uh, Not accessibility. Would it contribute to the student's understanding of literature if you bombard that student with terms like that, right? So you would not you would not use this literatures, especially if they like confuse the children, or if they what they call this, if yeah, if it confuses the children, or if it is a little bit inaccessible for the students. Next one is the no value impact. Sometimes popular literature is a issue for others because some students would say, "What can I get from that? Can I get a job with that? Can I get a job when I read a book?" There, it rarely translates to marketable expertise or job opportunities. So, because some people only view literature as entertainment, so how can we make sure that as teachers we show the value impact of literature? Lastly, the death of aesthetics. Now, there's a decline in public appreciation of art that reflects a broader depth of aesthetics. Now, what does this mean? Uh, Contemporary society prioritizes work, productivity, and convenience over engagement with beauty and art. Someone might, write in very highfalutin words, and that's fine. But our society right now prioritizes convenience. can I understand that better? Is it dumbed down for me? Because literature and other art forms slow us down, reveal beauty, and provide insight into existence. Di ba? If you remember the concept of defamiliarization, when you read literature and the author is using defamiliarization techniques, you smell the roses. You stop, you see, you feel, you hear. But popular literature is not like that. Remember, it's fast paced, it's all about the plot. So there is now a danger that aesthetics might be dead with popular literature, right? So, as teachers as well, we have to emphasize this aesthetics in literature. So, of course, to show artistic expression and the societal issues that are followed by it. So, those are just some of the issues and challenges in popular literature. Uh, uh, there will be a discussion forum that will come after uh, this topic, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll give it, maybe not. All right. So that's it, class. Thank you so much for joining us in this session, and have a great day. Bye, everyone.